What's going on, football fans? We're back again with some more NFL game previews. Now this week I counted six games worth previewing. We're going to start with the Thursday night game between the Saints and the Falcons. This game is going to be played in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. This is a huge game. I believe Atlanta finishes off their regular season with nothing but divisional games. They have 2 games against the Saints in the final, I believe, 3 or 4 games. So that division is kind of wide open, but not really. Saints have the tiebreaker over Carolina as they beat them twice this year. They beat them last week. And for the Falcons, they're playing a little catch-up as they lost to the Vikings this past weekend. Like I said, they have a lot of divisional games left. I think they played New Orleans twice. I think they played Carolina, and I think they play Tampa Bay still. So I believe those are all divisional games. So jumping into this game. Now, like I said, the Saints won last weekend against Carolina. It was a huge divisional game, especially a bounce-back win, especially after they lost to the Rams. And for the Falcons, they lost a very tough matchup against the Minnesota Vikings in a game that I thought they were thoroughly dominated. Case Keenum came out and played a great game against that Atlanta defense. Julio Jones was covered mostly by Xavier Rhodes in that game, as I said in my preview of that game. So yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup, a wild matchup. We have two prolific offenses, I would say. I think the Saints' offense is a little bit ahead of Atlanta's offense in terms of scoring, yards, and even explosive plays. Both these teams have 2 great running backs. Falcons feature Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Saints feature Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara should win Rookie of the Year, just saying. He's averaging a ridiculous 8.4 yards per touch, which is unheard of. Both teams feature 2 really good quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. A standout receiver, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, and 2 young athletic defenses here. So, jumping into this matchup. Key matchup number 1. Falcons run defense coming out and playing against this Saints run offense. Now, Kamara, like I said, I think he had about 120 total yards of offense, 2 touchdowns last week. Saints feature him a lot in their passing game. Mark Ingram is more of the grinder. So for the Saints, for the Falcons, it's about coming out and slowing down that run game. I know it's a little tough because this is probably one of the best offensive lines in football that New Orleans has right now. They're playing very well. You give Kamara an inch and he's taking off. And he's taking anything that this offensive line opens up for him. Now, looking at this matchup, it's going to be up to Keanu Neal in that secondary to be that 8th man in the box. Deion Jones. The edge rushers have to set the edge in terms of the running game, not in terms of the passing game, because you know Drew Brees is going to mostly try to stay in the pocket. But they have to set the edge and keep the running backs inside of their box. This is very tough considering that the Saints' rushing attack is prolific. It's amazing. It's really great. This is something that the Falcons are going to have to key on. They have to find where Kamara's lined up. They have to know who's in at running back in the situation. Drew Brees is a master at reading defenses, so they have to get their defense set. Drew Brees will audible out of plays to get the right play call in. So it's up to the Falcons. Whoever's calling the plays and making the adjustments on the field has to be staying a step ahead of Drew Brees, which is tough because Drew Brees is very smart. Number 2 key matchup. Now, this is a huge key matchup in terms of if this man is playing. If Marshawn Lattimore is able to play, I expect him to follow around Julio Jones. That's a key matchup. Julio Jones versus Marshawn Lattimore. I feel like, I know he hasn't played the last 2 games. Lattimore hasn't. Julio got locked up a lot last week. I think he only had 2 or 3 catches for about 20 to 30 yards, I believe, against Xavier Rhodes. And Xavier Rhodes, in my eyes, is one of the best lockdown corners in the league. And he's one of my favorite corners to watch. Like I said, that was going to be a very physical matchup for Julio. Julio invites the physicality. Xavier invites the physicality. And the refs did a good job of letting those 2 guys play. Now, as I said, this is a key matchup because Lattimore can take away that receiver, and just Lattimore likes to take. If the refs let him play and Lattimore is able to slow him down, it's a huge win for that Saints defense. If you can keep Julio below 5 catches, you have a great chance to win any ball game. And our third and final key matchup here is going to be the Falcons offense in general, getting their running game going. I know Devontae Freeman had some good runs in that game. And they didn't highlight Tevin Coleman as much as I thought they might have, and he kind of suffered a little bit. I think he only had about 11 touches in that game. They need to find a way to get him about 15 touches. Devonta Freeman get 20 to 25, I would say. I feel like it's going to be a little bit more of a tough sledding game for this running game, and they're going to have to use those guys, those weapons in Freeman and Coleman to get those guys going. Matt Ryan has to come out and play very, very tough, very strong, very efficient. He can't turn the ball over in this game. I don't think he turned the ball over last week. But this offense has to get going. I mean, Minnesota shut them down, and that was like kind of like a good look at what you would see with a good defense going up against a good offense. And the good defense prevailed because Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator, isn't very good at using his matchups to what he has. So now going to our 3 reasons why for this. 3 reasons why each team will win this game. For the Saints, it's very simple. Get Ingram and Kamara the ball. Those 2 guys out in space are very, very good. So just things like that. Kamara's averaging, like I said, a ridiculous 8.4 yards per touch and only 156 touches. Ingram's having a very solid year. And those 2 guys together are a great 1-2 punch. Probably the best 1-2 running attack in the league. Number 2, the Saints defense is able to take away Julio Jones. And as you see, when Julio Jones is taken away, this Atlanta offense struggles. It struggles for splash plays, big-time plays, clutch plays. So, yeah, if the Saints are able to take away Julio Jones, they have a good chance to win this game. And number 3, Drew Brees stays his normal, efficient, effective self, doesn't turn the ball over, and he throws for about 220 to 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now jumping to the Falcons here. For the Falcons, they have more than 3, but we're gonna highlight these 3. I think that the Saints are just a better team than Atlanta is right now. Number 1 for the Falcons, slow down Kamara. You can let Ingram kind of run a little bit, but you have to slow down Kamara because Kamara is huge in the terms of the splash plays. Like I said, he's averaging 8 yards a touch, which is a little ridiculous. And if you're basically giving up a first down every time he touches the ball, almost. Number 2, get Julio the ball. Get Julio the ball on screens. Just get up the ball in his hands and he can make a guy miss. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. The guy is physical. Get him the ball. Just get him the ball any way you can. Line him up at receiver. Line him at running back. Line him up in the slot. Line him up wherever. Create something that confuses the defense to get him the ball in space. Number 3, the Falcons defense needs to get about 3 or 4 sacks and force 2 turnovers. Now, this is a tough task because the Saints are really good at not really turning the ball over much this year. So looking at this, the Falcons need to be able to get that pressure on Drew Brees and shut down the run, forcing them into a one-dimensional team. Even still, that's dangerous, but it's something that you have to be willing to take the chance with. So my prediction for this game, I think the Saints are going to win. I think they're going to. This is a short week. You got to remember, short week in Atlanta. It's kind of a tough matchup. I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints in an ugly 23-16 win. I think that this will come down to 1 turnover by Matt Ryan. He's going to turn the ball over late in the game. The game will be tied 16-16, and Drew Brees marches him down the field and sets him up for the game-winning touchdown, forcing Atlanta to take a loss and hurting their playoff chances just a little bit. So, that's my prediction. 23-16. New Orleans is going to take this victory. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Peace.